Heinz Guderian was a German soldier and general. He was born in 1888 in Germany. Guderian became famous during World War II for his ideas about tanks and fast-moving battles. He believed that tanks could change the way wars were fought. Guderian joined the army when he was young. He went to military school and learned about war strategies. Over the years, he worked hard and became a general. In the early years of his career, he studied how to use tanks in battles. He believed that tanks could be used to break through enemy lines and move quickly. Before World War II started, Guderian had many ideas about tanks. He thought that tanks should not just be used for defense, but for attacking too. He believed that a group of tanks working together could cause great damage to the enemy. This idea was different from the way armies had used tanks before. Most armies only used tanks to support infantry soldiers. Guderian wanted tanks to be the main force in battles. When World War II began in 1939, Guderian's ideas were tested. The German army invaded Poland. Guderian led the attack with his tanks. The tanks moved quickly across the country, breaking through the Polish defenses. This attack was different from the slow-moving battles of the past. Guderian's tanks were fast, and they attacked the enemy quickly. This was the first time that his idea of using tanks in this way worked in real battle. After the success in Poland, Guderian's ideas were used in other battles. The next big test was the invasion of France in 1940. The German army used Guderian's tanks in the same way. The tanks moved fast and attacked the French army. The German army moved through France quickly. The French army was not ready for this fast attack. They were used to slower, more traditional fighting methods. Guderian's tanks broke through the French lines, and soon the Germans controlled most of France. In these early battles, Guderian's tanks proved to be very effective. They were fast and strong. The tanks were used in a way that made them hard for the enemy to stop. This new way of fighting was called blitzkrieg, which means lightning war. Blitzkrieg was a fast attack with tanks, airplanes, and soldiers. It was a way to surprise the enemy and attack quickly before they could defend themselves. As the war continued, Guderian became more important in the German army. He was given more responsibility. He led many important attacks. But not all of Guderian's battles were successful. Sometimes, Guderian disagreed with Adolf Hitler. Hitler wanted to make decisions about the war that Guderian did not agree with. For example, Hitler often wanted to attack places that were not important, which made it harder for Guderian to win battles. In 1941, Guderian's tanks played a big role in the invasion of the Soviet Union. The Germans attacked the Soviet Union in a battle called Operation Barbarossa. Guderian led one of the main tank groups. The Germans moved quickly at first, just like they did in Poland and France. But soon, they faced many problems. The weather was very bad. The German tanks could not move through the mud and snow. The Soviet army was also very large and strong. The German tanks were not able to defeat the Soviet army as quickly as they had hoped. This was a big problem for Guderian and the German army. Guderian also faced problems with Hitler. Hitler made many decisions that hurt the German army. Guderian wanted to continue moving east into the Soviet Union, but Hitler told him to stop. This made it harder for Guderian to win battles. He was not happy with Hitler's decisions, but he had to follow them. In 1943, Guderian was moved to a new position in the German army. He was no longer in charge of tanks. He became the head of the whole German army. He tried to use his knowledge of tanks and fast-moving warfare in new ways. However, by this time, the war was going badly for Germany. The Allies were becoming stronger, and the German army was losing many battles. Guderian did his best, but there were fewer victories for him to lead. In 1944, Guderian's position became difficult. Hitler made more bad decisions, and Guderian could not change them. He disagreed with many of Hitler's plans. In July 1944, there was an attempt to kill Hitler. After this, Guderian was removed from his position in the army. He was replaced by other generals. However, Guderian was not arrested. He was allowed to go home, but he was not part of the war anymore. The war ended in 1945. Germany lost and the country was divided into two parts. Guderian was captured by the Allies after the war. He was kept as a prisoner of war for several years. After he was released in 1948, Guderian wrote books about his ideas on tanks and warfare. One of his most famous books is called Achtung Panzer. In this book, he explained how tanks should be used in war, and how the German army had used them in World War II. Heinz Guderian's ideas about tanks and fast-moving battles changed the way wars were fought. His use of tanks in the early years of World War II showed that tanks could be used to win battles quickly. Even though the war ended badly for Germany, Guderian's ideas are still important today in the study of modern warfare. His ideas about blitzkrieg and tanks are still studied by military leaders and historians.